All right, it's that time. The time is the time. Good evening or good morning, depending on where you are from everyone in the world today. I know many will be coming from the UK, which I'll be going to in a couple of weeks. My wife is from Manchester, so looking forward to visiting the UK for a couple of weeks. And thank you for making the time out of your busy schedules to learn about this topic. And I'm sure you will learn some good pointers about positioning and sales techniques and building or positioning yourself to get hired on trade partners projects earlier. That's what this is all about. So just to kind of start this off, when you registered the for this webinar, you are asked to select what sales challenges you have to closing more sales. And the options were lowball bidders, unqualified competitors, clients asking for cheaper pricing, and distrusting trade partners. And when I say trade partners, I'm referring to builders, architects, designers that you're kind of guilty until proven innocent when you meet these folks, and they typically bring you into projects earlier. So thank you for answering those questions. Some of you put all of the above or some variation combination of those four problems. And that is exactly why the Home Technology Association was created. For those of you that this is new or you never really heard much about what the HTA is, I just wanted to go over the why. The why is those reasons that you answered that, and I'm going to do a screen share here to share with you on the why page on our website that just kind of sets the table of why this association exists. So I'm going to do a screen share here in a moment. There we go. Our website looks like this. It's quite, attractive to homeowners and trade partners. But if I come up to your HTA mission and select on why, it says right here on here, until now, the landscape of home tech experts, integrators, AV guys, electronic systems contractors, installers, technologists, whatever you want to call them, has been rocky.
Josh,
Unlike,
we can't see the screen, mate.
oh, what happened here? It was showing. Thank you for letting me know. Try this one more time. Is it there now?
Yes,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thanks. Then it says on the second paragraph, unlike medicine, law, architecture, there exists no real qualification process to open a business and call oneself a home technology integrator. This low to no barrier to entry has led to numerous subpar technology experiences for consumers. So kind of right there explains what the problem is. This is a low barrier to entry industry, and because of it, you could have been honing your craft for years, and someone just starting up or that's known for not doing great work is now competing against you. So that is what we're aiming to solve here with the HTA. So, a sad commentary on the industry is if this industry was known for professionalism and doing great technology installs, making architects, interior designers, and builders happy, there would be zero need for the Home Technology Association. Let that sink in for a second. The only reason this association exists is to set a standard of excellence that is needed because so much of this industry is doing a poor job, and the good integrators need a legitimate third-party way to stand out. So that is the quick why of us setting the standard. We have defined the standard of excellence for this industry. I didn't show that page yet, but we can get to that later. It is a clearly defined page of what an HTA certified integrator is. Once you show a potential client or a trade partner what that is, trust factor goes up dramatically because now instead of everyone claiming they're the best, including the subpar integrators in your market claiming they're as good or better than you, there's a defensible way to say, well, why aren't they certified? And this is what I put my company through. Why aren't they? They're hiding. They're You know, let them prove it to you. And that's very defensible. So we don't have a huge group here today, which makes it a bit intimate. And that's why you have seen something probably pop up on your screen allowing you to talk. So, normal webinars, you can't talk, but I'm turning on the ability for you to unmute yourself or raise your hand, your virtual hand on Zoom, or ask a question, and I'll be happy to answer the questions. But as it is, here's the loose agenda we're going to go over today is to talk about how to build trust faster, to position yourself differently in the market, and become involved in projects earlier, specifically through architects, designers, and builders. They are a key source of referrals for you. You get in with these folks, you get invited to onto their design team early. It's a game changer for your career. Give you a little background on myself and why I'm qualified to talk about this topic. I was an integrator for 16 years out here. I'm in the Los Angeles market. I worked at a company called DSI, which became one of the largest custom integrators in the LA market. They still are doing very well. They're on the uber high-end projects. I started there in the 1990s from scratch, building up a client base through architects, designers, and builders. So I got good, took a long time to get really good at that, to figure out how to get in with these folks, how to position myself. And what I'm going to share today will save you years of banging your head against the wall because not understanding how we were perceived by them, when you don't know how they're perceiving you, it's hard to position yourself differently. So we'll get into that. And this is not me. I don't want to equate myself with Home Technology Association, just saying my personal experience in this industry. I was in the sales side for 16 years. And now HTA with about 240 certified integrators across the United States, UK, and Canada. We are crowdsourced information from some of the top integrators in the industry, and that's shared back out with you. So this is crowdsourced information from the top of the top, and that's what I want you to learn today. So going, I'm going to share my screen again and kind of go over two different frameworks that we created here. We kind of branded them. One of them is a three-step process to closing sales, and one of them is a five-step process to getting hired earlier. Now, these are both using HTA tools, so you will get an education about the Home Technology Association at the same time you're learning some sales tips. Why you see my background Zoom like this is because I think it exemplifies very well what we bring to the table. You could row a boat and get to point A to point B, or you could get in a boat with an engine and get there easier. You're still doing the same thing, but one has a lot less effort and you're going to get there a lot faster. Same thing with HTA. So do you need to be HTA certified to be successful? The answer is no. Are you going to be more efficient and be more successful by leveraging HTA tools? That is an absolute yes. And I think as we'll go through this should make sense. And again, you could ask any questions through this, and I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the three-step sales process. First of all, let's talk about perceptions. You I'm going to make an assumption here. You are the top integrator in your market, and you're confident, you're trained, your staff is excellent, you're very confident in the workmanship that you do. And the assumption is that this is going to come through the way that I speak to the client or my website. They're going to know this somehow. But the reality that I want you all to understand is that clients approach this industry or this trade like they do hiring a plumber or an electrician. And what I mean by that is if you say you do this for a living, you're an integrator, then you must know what you're doing, or why else would you be doing this? So there's this misconception that everyone's kind of like qualified, that there's not that much variance in brands or installation ability or service. And that is obviously wrong. You might be chuckling to yourself, if they only knew. As you know, it's not that way. So it's good to differentiate yourself right out of the gate. And this is one of the most powerful things about the Home Technology Association because it gives you a way to build trust without saying we're great, everyone else stinks. It's a way to just elevate yourself above the fray. So uh, have your own elevator pitch, but if you're an HTA certified integrator, you have a really good head start against the competition. And this is, for example, here's one of them. And this is a basic elevator pitch for talking to a potential consumer, not an architect, designer, builder in this case, but you could say only a select few, less than 5% of integrators have meet the rigorous standards of the Home Technology Association's certified program. We're proud to be one of them. When choosing a technology partner, look for the HTA certified seal. It means you're working with a vetted professional. And here's where I'd recommend going. Even if you don't hire us, hire someone HTA certified. I'll send a link that explains how the certification helps ensure a great experience with your home's technology. Something along those lines. It says a couple really, really important facts that the client is not expecting. That only a small percent of this industry is really good and met this standard. And just so you know, what the HTA's assumption is about 10% of integrators will meet our standard. That's the assumption, only 10%. So then there's this page right here, which I'll click on, which has the HTA certification guidelines for the USA and Canada. It's here for the UK. It's mostly the same, a little different, and it looks like this. And there's the bullet points on top are the main qualification criteria. And then we put integrators into one of three tiers depending on the type of projects that you specialize in. So there's HTA Foundation, Luxury, and Estate, covering the gamut from basic homes up to the largest estate homes in the world. And why that's important, if you are an integrator that is specializing in massive homes, you know the skill set and the project management that takes in engineering. And there could be another integrator in town that does great work on smaller projects, but would be way out of their league on that super high-end project. So this is our way to let a consumer know that not all integrators are the same. There are three broad categories of integrators that work on different projects. So we won't get into too much of the details on there now. I'm more than happy to answer some specific questions on that if those come up. But this is right here. The most powerful page I'd say on our website is this one, because when a client or an architect or designer or builder reads this, the trust factor goes way, 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 way up. And this is a great way to get non-certified companies excluded from the bidding process. This has happened. This is not theory. Once you do this, share this page. And this is a page that can be embedded, or I should say linked to on your website. And it's a special version of this page that is headless and this logo is gone and all this HTA stuff up on the top will be gone. So it's just kind of gives the client the meat of what that certification standard is. So, hey, knock out 95% of your competition at the outset is a great way to start a project and or the relationship. So how I recommend doing that, do the elevator pitch. Don't send that link to that the page I saw later, or you could, in a follow-up email. Ideally, you'd have the HTA certified logo on your website, which would link to that page. And then you say, oh, that thing I was telling you about earlier, the HTA certification, here it is. Click on the logo on our homepage, and you'll see exactly what I was referring to. Emphasize again what that is all about. So first of all, that is important to do. Set yourself, elevate yourself right away. Any questions at this point? Raise your hand and or throw it in the chat. If I don't see anything come up, or just unmute yourself. Then I'll keep going. Step two, this is a big one. This is a huge tool that once you wrap your head around this is a game changer. This is a budget calculator we've built, and you might know this. This is kind of what we're most famous for, is this budget calculator. This could be embedded in your site, and since most of our friends here today are United Kingdom, I'm going to switch it to our UK version. And if you're in the UK, when you go to this on our website, it should automatically see your IPs from the UK, and it should flip to the United Kingdom version by default. But this is a simplest. I'm not going to build a budget right here now unless we have time later on. We can do it together for as a fun exercise. But the idea of this calculator is it's super powerful on a lot of ways. Our industry, we're known for sticker shocking clients because clients typically have no clue what the stuff costs unless it's a repeat client of yours. So what happens when they get sticker shocked? They might start shopping around thinking you're crazy. Like, there's no way this could cost as much. Or you have to go back and do a bunch of value engineering because now they can't, you know, they don't want to pay that much money. So you have to do that. But and then the other thing that our industry is famous for is asking a potential client, what's your budget? And it's really not a good question to ask. The reason is that clients don't know what their budget should be. And then I guess, like I said earlier, unless they're a repeat client of yours and they've been down this road before, that's fine. But a new client, they don't know. And you don't want to make a prospect look uneducated is because what they're afraid of, I mean, these are successful people you're talking to, right? And when you say what's your budget, they're afraid that you're going to come up with a number too low and look dumb in front of you. Or if they think, well, maybe my needs are only 100,000 pounds, and if I say it's 150,000 pounds, then they're just going to sell up to 150,000 pounds and, oversell me. So they're a bit nervous. So don't ask the budget. Instead, go through the budget calculator with them as an exercise. So you can do it on our site or you can do it on your site because this could be embedded within your website. Uh, James Ratcliffe of HomePlay, some of you might know him. He's in the Greater London area. He was and is a major, major fan of our budget calculator. And by special permission, we allowed him to embed it on his website even before we brought HTA to the UK. And James was really helpful with helping us calibrate this to the UK. So he's an industry friend, but he was closing sales easily with our calculator when it wasn't even in pounds. It was only in dollars at that point. So if any of you know James, you could ask him firsthand how good he is with this and how much money he's made with this and how much it's made his life way easier. But the point of this is it's simple, it's not in the weeds, it's not granular. It asks basic questions of the categories you do. I'm just gonna put
176.
a couple numbers here.
Ultra performance, 376.
Okay, someone's not muted here. 1 minute.
Well exceed 800,000. I mean, I like.
Okay. And as you start filling this out, the numbers start building down below. We'll even do an exchange rate from dollars to pounds if you're in the UK. But I won't answer all the questions now, but you could kind of see we even deal with lighting fixtures and lighting control, shading, alarm and fire detection, surveillance cameras, of course, house music, home theaters, media rooms, the whole gamut, and networks and pre-wiring. So it's a great way to have a conversation with a client that is very consultative. Hey, you probably want to know what this stuff costs. So let's go through this industry calculator that most of this industry uses, and it's brand agnostic. It's a great way to let you know what we do here at our company and to give you an idea from good to great. It's going to have a range. And for those of you who have played with this, you might know the range, depending on how you answer, it could be 3x, 3.5x. So, but it's all real. It could go, but as you use it, you'll probably note yourself like, wow, those numbers are spot on. I could do systems at that low end that are good. and up to, of course, the sky's the limit. It'll get up there. The sticker shock is still there. But the power of it comes from you deflecting that away from you. You're not the bad guy now. And this association gave him the bad news. Again, us, a neutral association that has respect and that people don't doubt. That is so powerful. Cannot underestimate that. You're deflecting that sticker shock on a neutral association that has their best interest in mind. So now, how they react to that budget range determines where you go next. They might ask, well, what do I, let's say I'm just going to use rough numbers. What if it says it's 100,000 pounds to 300,000 pounds, the range? They might ask, well, what do I get at 300,000 pounds that I don't get at 100,000 pounds? Good question. Here we go. Or the conversation is going to go organically from that point on. But the idea is you've shared what reality costs, and you will know from that conversation how it flows organically from that point on, where they're comfortable. And then you could come through with a budget at that range. Your chance of closing that job have gone up tremendously. And the chance of you needing to value engineer it and bring the price down and bring the price down has gone down dramatically because you started with this process. For those of you that are charging for your design in engineering, which I hope is most of you, a pro tip is to use the low number of this calculator as the basis for charging your design fee. So someone will charge a percentage, 3, 4, 5% of the low number. If you get into things like high-end home theater design and lighting design, if you do lighting design, of course, that could add on top, but this is a rough number to start with. And I learned that from our own integrators who are coming back to us and saying that's another way they use their budget calculator. So this page, I'll share this in chat so you can look at this later. Here we go. Let's see to everyone before I forget. That link is in here and it links out to other articles about the budget calculator, but this cannot be overemphasized. This next one, I'm not going to get into too much because this is for HTA certified dealers per se, but what I'm just referring to here is if you're a certified integrator, HTA, we've done a lot of homework on you to get you approved. And if you need an extra nudge to help close that deal, I make myself available for personal calls, but also we have proposal inserts that we make that are branded for you in a testimonial letter that I sign that is meant to insert in your proposal, which is going to emphasize that again, that you're certified and how that differentiates you and makes you better. So again, it's all about building trust over and over because clients are spending a lot of money with you. They want to trust you and that we're helping you build that trust. So any questions before we move into getting hired earlier about the calculator, starting with a elevator pitch? I am looking to chat here and oh, I think I saw a hand here. Did I see a hand? Yes. Russell Gascamp.
Hey, Josh, you're doing a great job. I think
Thank
you
you.
really explained a good reason to drive people to your website for the third-party kind of validation. I know that if we're HTA members, we can also kind of like white label and throw this on our website.
Mhm.
How would you say that your dealers are using it when this budget builder of sorts is on their website? Because now all of a sudden we're still the bad guy. Like, right? It's still our website that's telling them what their budget should be versus your website that tells them what their budget should be. And I really do like what you said about how the sticker shock is now on somebody else. Like there's some value in that, right?
Thank you for asking that. I will show you that. I'll show you the way it shows an embedded one, and I'm going to go right to home play. So let's use the UK. I don't know what the URL is off the top of my mind. Okay, so here we are on his site. And where did he embed it here? Here we go. Budget calculator. It keeps HTA branding inside it. Here we go. It says Home Technology Budgeting Tool powered by the Home Technology Association. And the opening lead-in sentence explains that this is provided by the HTA. So it's within their site but still branded us. So great question, Russell. Thank you. Does that answer it?
Yeah, I think so. I think that also the mechanics behind sending somebody to your site. Yeah. No, that answers it. Thank you.
And well, what you might be getting at with that question, Russell, is it's an internal strategy if you want to put it in your own website or link out to our website or just send someone to ours. We give our dealers a coded link. So if you just have them go to the HTA site, so they build a calculator there, then some integrators say, well, then you know there's no way the client can think that our version is different than the one on the HTA site because they're on the HTA site. And the coded version we give means that we know they came from your website and we have a dealer, I'm kind of getting the weeds here, but we have a dealer portal. And if a budget was built with that linked versions, they went on our site, but we know it came from your site, it goes in your portal and says a budget was built and here's all the details of that budget are in your portal even though it was built on our site. Kind of cool.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was going to ask without trying to ask that. Thanks for clearing that up.
yeah, kind of read your mind on that one. But thank you for asking the question. So now we're going to move into the five-step process to get hired earlier. And some of this is a review, so we're not have to start from the top. I'll get to that page. Here we go. So this is about getting hired earlier to architect, designer, builder projects. So first one starts off the same with the elevator pitch. We have a different elevator pitch specifically for trade partners. But the idea is an elevator pitch is really important, especially with these folks, because as you go out there to build relationships, you might have felt this. Every integrator I've talked to is kind of chuckled and agreed that when you meet a new trade partner for the first time, you're often guilty until proven innocent because all the bad experiences they had before you kind of fall on you, and it's not fair. I've had this happen. The disrespect is palpable sometimes. That's how bad our industry is. And I could tell you this from a different angle too, because after 16 years of being an integrator, and then I had a role as an industry consultant, a design and consulting engineer with a company called Axiom Design, which is a low voltage designer. And when I came back in the same offices as a consultant and not an integrator, the gloves came off. They said, I hate integrators, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, I've been calling you 16 years and I'm hearing about this now. It's like the hate came out and that blew my mind because there's some really good integrators in there, but I didn't realize my naivety in my past life is I thought more integrators were doing a great job than actually were. So if you don't know that, it's good to know that going in, that's maybe why you're getting that cold shoulder. And that's why it's hard to get that trust to get hired earlier. So know that going in and change your approach because this is how most integrators approach an architect, designer, builder. Let them know what you do. And if that architect, I'm just going to say trade partner, if that trade partner starts to share some negativity, like, oh, that stuff never works, or the control systems break or the clients don't like it, it's too hard to use. They instantly go into, well, I sell better brands and I've got better service and my programmers are better than everybody else. Guess what? Everyone says the same thing. But if you start that conversation with the acknowledgement that they've probably had a poor experience, you're being very different. So if I met a new trade partner today and I was HTA certified, this is what I would do. You meet a new trade partner and say, so I'm an integrator, I do all the home technology. What's your experience been with our trade? I'll bet you it's been a bit rocky. Has it been for you? They'll probably open up. And that's a different approach. Yeah, some clients can't use this or it's so expensive. Why is it so expensive? And blah, blah, blah. They're going to open up and go, yeah, it's an interesting trade I'm in. Only about 10% of integrators are worth your time or less. And still want to and you can kind of segue into how you're different, going back into an elevator pitch. And you could say, I want to let you know there is a standard, only a small percent of integrators meet it. It's administered by this association called the Home Technology Association. My firm is one of them. I'll send you a link to what it means, just like before. And it'll show you that we're different. But I'm going to get into something extra that we built, which is a great thing to show you in a minute, which is another thing you could add into an elevator pitch, which will really help them fall in love with you much, much quicker. But this step two is another big one, a huge one. So this point here is another one that I want, it's like worth repeating because this took a long, long time to understand that. An architect and interior designer, especially, well, all of them, and let's throw builders in there, you're just another contractor. That's the way they perceive you. But this industry is radically different than most other trades on their job. You're a designer. There's a ton of design work that needs to go into these projects up front. Now, you know that, and you might even show them your beautiful design and engineering documentation. And here's the scary thing. Showing them that is not enough still without very explicitly explaining that you are a design consultant as your step one. That's your phase one. And you have to have the documentation to show it, right? So show them some examples of your work. If you are not yet doing design and engineering documentation in-house, there are some third-party companies that can help do that for you. And if you need some resources, reach out to me after. But show them that documentation and explain that, again, this is a great segue to charging fees, your design and engineering fees. You say, our first step of work is to work with you at your schematic design phase of work. In the UK, I don't think you use the term schematic design. There's something similar, but what I'm referring to is the earliest design phase of architecture and interior design. Be specific about that phase because that's going to hit them a bit hard. They're not going to immediately draw the connection of why you need to be brought in that early. But bring up some examples of misses that they've seen probably on their projects or other projects. Like, haven't you seen where there's speakers all over the ceilings that do not line up in size or in alignment with the lighting? Has that happened? Yes. Have you seen equipment or closets crammed full of electronics that it was obviously not planned for, and then that you open that up and that closet is overheating or that mechanical room is overheating? Has that happened? Yes. If they're an architect designer, has a late stage in a project, has the builder come back and wanted to hide the TV or ask you to change dimensions in a room because they're going to do a cinema? You could think of things similar to this, but bring up specific items that are pain points that they've seen. Or you could just say something simple like, I'm sure you've been in many homes where the technology kind of shouts, right? There's a lot of wall clutter. There's a giant TV dominating a room. The speakers are all visible, and the technology detracted from the aesthetics of the home. Have you seen that? Yes. Okay. Then you can tell them my role is to be brought in early, and we'll go over all that. I'm your consultant. We can help hide the technology, make sure we have the space planning involved. We know where the equipment goes. All the visible technologies like keypads or touchscreens or video displays or speakers, you will have sign-off ability on where that stuff goes. They love that stuff, and they're not used to seeing that from the typical integrator. So now you earned your chops as a design consultant, because that's what consultants do. They're there early. So you want to be there at the early stage of the project, but you have to explain what's in it for them. My advice to all of you is to market yourself, position yourself as a three-phase company. Phase one, design and consultation, what we're talking about now. Step two, they already know that. That's your contracting stage, where you install the actual stuff. Step three is your service phase, your aftercare phase, and explain that. Explain that you are a three-phase company because they only know you as the middle one. But when you talk about your design and consultation, and what you charge, and remember, again, you can make this simple. We charge 3% of the low number of that budget calculator or whatever. And then you say, and then when the system is installed, we have ongoing care. Well, you might even have service plans with that client, but whatever, even if you don't have service plans, You could just tell them our third phase is we stay with that client for the life that they're in that home. We want to update it as technology goes stale and make sure it's working in tip-top shape. If they didn't ask about your service policies and you just explained that you have such service policies, oh my God. I mean, now you're different because that is another area our industry fails is bad customer service. And you're talking about your customer service policies. Now you're a trustworthy integrator that they'll feel much more comfortable bringing into their projects. So step 2 is huge. Step 3, already touched on it earlier. Professionals charge for design. The MEPs, which are the mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers, they bring into the project, structural engineers, civil engineers, all these design team people that architects bring to their project, charge for design. You should charge for design too. They expect it. So it cheapens our industry when integrators give away hours or days of time and hoping they're going to win this giant proposal when what they really need to be doing is charging less, build that trust, charge your small design fee. Now you're a consultant, right? I'm here not to sell boxes or goods, but to learn how the client lives, go through that evaluation process with them. And then after I learn how they live and what technology they want, then I'll make some recommendations. That's what consultants do. We talked about this a little bit already in step 4 about what's in it for them. So talk about how they benefit and how the client benefits. And it's not hard to do that. And again, just think of all the missteps you've seen and how you fix them, but how it's in their best interest with aesthetics and less change orders and project delays. That's what you're there to do is help them out. Doing these things is a game changer. When I did this at DSI, this is before HTA days, but I worked really hard to build these relationships with trade partners, and this company today still going strong and still getting referrals from those trade partners a long time later. And they just keep bringing the clients to you. So you get this right, it's a game changer. The last thing I'll show you here is a project technology assessment form. And this is the one that I'll show you here in a second is branded. We built these for our dealers. We custom brand them for you. But there's some technology baked into it. So let me show you this now. This is what the form looks like. A customized version would have your logo here up at the top. But this is a document that, obviously you could reproduce something like this on your own, but there's some power baked into this one because, and I'll show you why. But the idea is, and here's the story on this. Some custom builders that I work with at the NAHB, which is a National Association of Home Builders in the US, I work with this custom builder committee. They asked for this document. It wasn't like we invented this on our own because we're so clever. No, they asked for like, hey, Josh, you keep talking about all the stuff that integrators do, and it's way more than AV, but we forget when we're in front of a client, all those different things they do. Can you make a cheat sheet? I'm like, that's a great idea. Here's that cheat sheet. So this is a PDF that has all the major subsystems in a home and even some things that you could say are related, but not your typical install, like, sports simulators, golf simulators. We have energy management in here, lighting fixtures, acoustics are even dealt with in here, digital new media art, which are things tangentially related to you. And these are all products available to you as well. So the way you present this to your trade partner, say, this is the cover your butt document. So you hand this to them or email it to them. Again, it's a digital PDF that can be filled out online and emailed back to you, as I'm filling it out right here online. And say, your client might not want much tech at all. That's fine. But it's good for you as their architect or designer or builder to know upfront what technologies they may be interested in, even if they have a little interest, because if this comes out late in the build, it's going to completely disrupt the process of getting the house done on time and on budget because there'll be change orders and project delays. So this is their menu of items they may want. I'll go over it with them and come up with some budgets, and now you will not have any surprises later on. And it's a way to cover your butt, because if you don't do something like this, Mr. or Mrs. Architect, designer, or builder, your client come back and point the finger at you pretty upset that why didn't you bring this up earlier? Now it's going to cost me, X thousands of dollars to change order it, and we're going to be delayed 3 weeks or a month. No one happy. No one wins. This solves that problem. Just to show you some of the customization we do for our integrators, the ones that we give out will be coded with those tracking links. So if it's the digital version and the architect or homeowner clicks on those links and it goes to our website, it tracks them all the way through. Same with that budget, like I mentioned earlier. If they go to the budget calculator, it'll even show up saying, send this to HomePlay, if it came from James's website, because we know that that budget came from there, and it'll even have a little tick box on there that the homeowner or the architect, whoever's building the budget, can send the budget directly to the integrator. But even if they don't opt to send it to them, it still logs in the dealer portal. And it also, if the user goes to our website and they go to the dealer finder, another thing that happens with the tracking is that dealer always shows at the top of the sort order, regardless of what zip or postal code the person enters. So even if it's outside of market, you always show as the top person. So a powerful form that is a great touch, a leave behind, and architects, designers, and builders love this form, and the wording is already baked in. Like that I've been sharing with you, it's in there for them. It says, if you're an architect, do this at the earliest schematic design phases. And I haven't told you this yet, but here's what you tell your builder. If you're a builder, you get this form back to me before framing electrical and HVAC bids. And every builder that I've talked to about this, and when I tell them you need to get a technology design before framing electrical and HVAC bids, they kind of look at you first like, huh? Then you explain it and they go, oh my God, that makes total sense. 100% of the time. And I'm talking hundreds of builders that I've taught, zero pushback when you explain it. So this is a game changer of positioning, because you're explaining the why, how they benefit. One thing that I touched on earlier was the HTA Design Partner Program. And let's go back to where to go. I went right past it. I'm going to bring it up a second here. One moment. Well, I don't have to go back to that page. Let me go right to the HTA Design Partner page. I mentioned earlier that if you are an HTA design partner, you have a different elevator pitch that you could give trade partners. So let me give you the story on this. And by the way, again, I want to open this to Q&A, and I'm kind of into the Q&A time. So feel free to raise your hand or ask any questions about any of this stuff so far. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen because it looks like it's not sharing right now. This is what the HTA Design Partner Program is. The backstory is pretty cool. So, as an educator, I still talk to architects, designers, and builders at some of their trade shows and teach them the importance of hiring you early. So I'm there wearing my industry hat, not an HTA hat, throughout almost my whole lectures. Invariably, when I get to the end and I explain kind of what the perfect integrator can do, and they're drinking the Kool-Aid, they're going, okay, that's cool. Like, wow, yeah, those design drawings and all that stuff they could help me with makes sense. But I haven't seen many integrators act like that. So again, their distrust of our industry kind of comes out in the Q&A section. So what we decided to do here is to work with them, work with the trade partners to say, what do you want in your ideal integrator? What are the behaviors that they should do and they should not do that would make you feel comfortable to bring them into their project early on, so they're not going to embarrass you, but instead they look like this trusted design team partner that brings a lot of value to the project and doesn't embarrass you in any way. And that's what this is. So this is a code of conduct that we're not going to go through all this line item, but I will put the link in the chat that you could read. Oh, Russell, thank you for sharing. I got this late that my screen is half cut off. Yeah, sometimes Zoom does that. So I'm sorry, folks, but all the key links are in the chat right here, including this one I'm looking at right now. So hopefully you're seeing the screen full. If not, just shout out. There are some of this has to do with the type of design documentation that they would like to see from you. Some of this is just behavioral stuff, returning calls or responding to a request for information within a certain time frame to let them know that, hey, I understand you asked me something. I acknowledge that. Even if I don't have the answer, at least I acknowledge that you're asking me and I'll get you the answer. And a big one is, and here's a couple big ones I want to just bring up to you that pop up quite often with them, is they want to collaborate with you. When they send you a lead, a client, they like the idea of being able to coordinate the visible technologies. They will help sell for you. When you show them the better keypad designs, the higher end ones, Mel Jacks or the fancier Lutron ones or Taiba, there's a handful of these ones out there, right? Basalt, some of these really fancy keypads. They will help sell that for you because they love the aesthetics of these things. Invisible speakers, they cost more. They'll often help sell those things, but just get those things signed off by them. They appreciate that. They also have been embarrassed by bringing integrators in and then have that integrator not listen when the client's saying, I don't want that technology, let's move on. And the integrator's trying to really force them and persuade them to get whatever technology that integrator's trying to push, and it gets embarrassing. It's like watching The Office, right? That secondhand embarrassment. Architect, designer, builders face palming, like, oh my God, I'm not bringing this person back. They're not listening to my client. Be consultative in your process. And that's how consultants do. How consultants work. So a lot of this is kind of common sense, but some of it might not be. Some of the tips here might be new to you. But if you want to get into the mind of a top designer, architect, builder, read this page, embody this into the way you approach the trades, and you will be perceived differently because they built it. They're telling you what they want. That has all the main points that I wanted to address. And now I'd love to hear some questions from you. And let's see, I got the chat open here. And let's see, has everybody been able to, looks like all of you are able to unmute yourself if you so choose to ask a question. I'm more than happy to answer any question for you. If not, I will tell you, I'm assuming that, yeah, I don't think any of the names that are on here are HTA certified. So what does that process look like? Thanks, Russell. Thanks for the nice comment there. How the HTA certification process works, I'll stop sharing right now. We'll go full screen here. It's an online application. If you just go to the htacertified.org and you click in the footer, then you will see apply for HTA certification link. The application happens all online, and that you could save and exit so you don't have to finish it all in one go. We do ask a lot of questions because this is a thorough thing. This is not a pay-to-play association at all. This is a true application and a vetting process. If you're in the UK or US, the questions are almost exactly the same, but there are some differences based on the countries. And so it's a specific app for the UK versus the US. And we're looking for references from industry peers and from industry partners like architects, designers, and builders. So we do our due diligence. It takes us a few weeks, sometimes over a month, to process an application. And when you're approved, Then we add you to the website, help you with some tools, go over a formal training on the different tools that I touched on today. There's more. I kind of touched the surface, but we formalize that training with your sales and marketing teams. And we also have our own webinar series that we do throughout the year as well. So it's not just like, hey, you're certified, great, put a logo on your website. We're keeping you up to date with industry trends. We're bringing in movers and shakers, sharing strategies. We just did a great one a couple of weeks ago on May 19th. We had some panelists in about the type of categories you will want to get into to show your value and your worth to designers and architects. Some of the product categories that are outside their normal assumption of what you do to show yourself as an aesthetically minded designer. So we're doing things like that. And, newer categories like energy management, lighting fixtures isn't new anymore, but we've been doing these for years, bringing in subject matter experts that you can ask and feel comfortable with asking these experts so you can grow your business and become more efficient. And we go over our tools from time to time with our integrators. So it's an ongoing thing. Oh, one thing I wanted to bring up with you too, I forgot to bring this up because it's really new. I'm going to share this in the chat. We just, less than 4 weeks ago, started our first newsletter at our LinkedIn HTA page. And our newsletter is designed for architects, builders, and interior designers. That's what it's for. That's the audience. We have it's growing a lot. This is so cool. Organically, it has 2,566 subscribers in just over 3 weeks. That's a lot. And we have 3 articles on here so far. If you look at the articles on that link, you will see these are exactly what you want every architect and designer and builder to read these. So subscribe to it yourself and send this on to every trade partner and get them to subscribe. They're doing it already. It's happening quite well because it's going to keep emphasizing your role in their job. It keeps showing your worth, why it's good to bring you in early, and it's going to weave that theme ongoing as these articles keep pushing out. So we're really proud of this and very pleasantly surprised how much traction this is getting without, just organically. So something to be aware of.